Hello, very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome back to my channel, which is Certified Business Analysis Professional. My name is Varun, and I hope you are finding my YouTube videos or tutorials helpful for your CBAP, ECBA, and CCBA examination. So far, so good. We were continuing with the techniques, and today we'll still continue with the techniques. Today we will continue with these three techniques, which is business model canvas, collaborative games, and the data dictionary. On my right side, those are all completed techniques, and you can watch those tutorials as well. So, what is business model canvas? So, as the name, this canvas is self-explanatory, I would say. It's kind of a picture, you draw something. So, in terms of the business, there is the canvas, which is basically a visual or shows a visibility of how a business works. Uh, so this canvas, this business model canvas, uh, creates, deliver, and captures value for and from its customer. Basically, this business model canvas has nine building blocks. We'll talk about those nine building blocks one by one. So far, you can see these are the key partnership, key activities, key resources, value proposition, customer relationships, channels, customer segments, cost structure, and a revenue stream. So we'll try to understand it via the example. So this is a business model canvas for the Netflix. Uh, so now let's try to understand it. So what are the key partners? So this is a business model canvas that you can see here, which is having nine building blocks: partners, activities, resources, proposition, relationship, customer segments, channels, revenue stream, and the cost structure. In order to memorize it, there is a key which I have created it for myself. You can also create a similar key for for yourself. Likewise, I have done like PARP and then triple C and double S. So PARP, triple C, double S. So these are the nine building blocks. So the key partners, who are the partners with whom the Netflix is having a collaboration, either to produce, provide, or create a content for them. The investors are there who is sponsoring, the media producers who are producing the content, filmmakers also producing the content, cinemas and theaters where the Netflix used to showcase the creation their content, the TV networks, the Amazon Web Services, consumer electronic companies, and obviously the regulators who are regulating those media or content. Then we have the key activities which Netflix is involved in, which is the technology, research and the development, the content licensing, the content production, content distribution, the data analytics, sales and the marketing. What are the key resources? For them, the resources are the brand itself, uh, the the application and their website where they are showcasing that content, the platform, the application, it could be an application itself. The resources could be their employees who are working for them. The filmmakers and the producers also act as the resources, and prize and the awards, which is influencing or encouraging them. Then we have the value proposition. So these are for the customer. What are what proposition they are offering, so that the customer is realizing the value out of it. So they are producing or they are providing 24 into 7 on demand content or entertainment. You can view the high definition shows and movies. You can stream the content. There could be unlimited access for serving the content. The Netflix original, this means no other platform produced or having that copyright. 30 days free trial for the new users who is about to subscribe on a Netflix, and no commercials. Then the customer relationship, how you are engaging with the customer. You might have the self-service. You might have the on-demand request and incident disposal process, and the ease of use. Then, what are the channels by which you are providing the access to the users, content access? Whether it could be any device. On the device, there could be a Netflix app. It could be word of mouth, uh, and the online advertisement, offline advertisement, and the social media. We have a customer segment as well. So you can segment the customer based on the needs, usage, geography, right? So different parameters are there to do the segmentation. Well, the cost structure tells about where the cost of the whatever the earning of the organization, wherever they are spending that money. So it could be production, research and development, licensing, infrastructure building, the marketing, the payment processing fees, and the general administration. And the revenue streams from where the Netflix is generating the revenue. It's a subscription-based model where the customer is subscribing to view the and watch the content. The product placement on Netflix on some on some pages of the Netflix, they are putting some advertisement for the products. The DVD rental, they are providing the DVDs for the rental, and the future model licensing Netflix owned content. So this is basically a business model canvas for Netflix. The similar business model canvas can create for different organization for the like it could be for Ola or for Uber, taxi for sure. You can create it for the different MNCs. So this nine building blocks will clarify uh, it can give you the high level, the helicopter view of the organization, how they are generating revenue, what are their customers, what activities the organization deal in. So these nine building blocks tells everything about the organization. I hope you understand this business model canvas. Then obviously, what are the elements? Yeah, elements are the key partners, the key activities, the key resources, the value proposition, customer relationship, customer channels, customer segment, cost structure, and the revenue stream. How you can memorize? As I said, PARP. Then you can say triple C and double S, right? Then what are the pros, strength, and the weaknesses? The pros are frequently and widely used framework to understand optimize the business models. It is simple to use and easy to understand. And the cons are does not account for alternative measures of value such as social and the environmental impacts. The primary focus on value proposition does not provide a holistic insight for business strategy, does not include the strategic purpose of the enterprise within the canvas. So these lines exactly I have copied from the BA book. So I haven't changes anything here. So these are straightforward. I hope you understand this. Then we have a collaborative games. As a name itself, self-explanatory. It's a game. We used to. This is kind of elicitation activity to elicit the requirement or the understanding of a problem or a solution in a very interactive way and a collaborative way in terms of a game, right? So collaborative games refers to several structured techniques inspired by gameplay and are designed to facilitate collaboration. Each game includes rules to keep participants focused on a specific objective. The games are used to help the participants share their knowledge and experience on a given topic, identify hidden assumptions, and explore that knowledge in ways that may not occur during the course of normal interactions. The shared experience of the collaborative game encourages people with different perspectives on a topic to work together in order to better understand an issue and develop a shared model of the problem or a potential solution. Why are all those lines? It simply says like it's a elicitation activity. We used to elicit the requirement in a very interactive fashion It's a kind of a game that we use to introduce among the different stakeholders to make them engage and interactive. And these games give them a chance to showcase their knowledge, to express their views, to explain some of the hidden assumptions, and to explore, right? So it's basically sharing the knowledge. Then the elements itself, the purpose of the game, for what purpose these collaborative game is, it's basically for the elicitation activity purpose. The process, it has a three steps. First is to explain the about the collaborative game. The second one is the exploration phase where we are sharing the knowledge, and the third phase is where we are consolidating the outcome. So these are three steps in this process. And then the outcome itself, what the outcome comes after this, after engaging with the game, the end objective is some outcome. The example of the collaborative games, it's given below. It could be different other ways, but the three that is mentioned in the book is like our product box, where the participant construct a dummy box for the product as it was being sold in a retail store. And the objective is to use to help identify features of a product that helps drive interest in the marketplace. And then we have affinity map, where the participant write down the features on the sticky notes, put them on a wall, and move them closer to other features that appear similar in some way. It used to help identify related or similar features of themes. Then the fish bowl, where there we divide it into two participant group. One participant group speaks about a topic, and the other used to listen and document their observation. It used to identify hidden assumption or the perspectives. So this is collaborative game. And the pros, it may reveal hidden assumption or differences of opinion. It encourages creative thinking by stimulating alternative mental processes. Some collaborative games can be useful in exposing business needs that aren't being met. And the cons are, the playful nature of the game may be perceived as silly and make participants with reserved personalities or culture norms uncomfortable. Games can be time consuming, obviously, and may be perceived as unproductive. And group participation can lead to a false sense of confidence in the conclusion reached. These are the pros and the cons. There is nothing much to explain. These words itself are self-explanatory, and I hope you understand. If still you have any question, you can feel free to put your questions in a comment below. And then we have a data dictionary. Well, data dictionary is used to document a standard definition of a data elements, their meanings and allowable values. A data dictionary contains definition of each data element, and I hope you have gone through the context diagram and the concept modeling, where we were discussing about different techniques, and there I have explained, I have given I have relate the data dictionary there in those techniques as well, where the activities and the data elements among those activities and the processes directly linked with the data, means those are mentioned and the part of the data dictionary as well. So data dictionary contains definition of each data element and indicates how those elements combine into composite data elements. Dictionaries are used to standardize usage and meanings of data elements between solution and between stakeholders. Data dictionaries are sometimes referred to as a metadata, and data dictionary is often used in conjunction with an entity relationship diagram, right? Then we have the primitive data elements and the composite data elements. What are the primitive data elements? These are like name, uh, the first name, middle name, and the last name. Uh, and the composite data elements are like the combination of the primitive data elements, which says like the first name plus the middle name plus the last name, which is a concatenation of the primitive data elements. So these are the composite data elements. And in primitive data elements, these are alias. You can also consider it as a primitive data elements, and the unique and the values and the meaning. It could be like for the data element one, which is a first name, the minimum characters acceptable is 2, and data element 2, which is a middle name, it can be omitted. User can give it, cannot give, it's not, it's an optional. And the data element 3, which is last name, it also needs a minimum 2 characters. And the description and the definition of the primitive data elements, well, the first name description is the first name of the user, a middle name, the middle name of the user, last name, and the family name of the user, right? And the composite key or composite data element, as I said, it's a concatenation of the primitive data elements. So here itself, the data elements, data dictionaries include a standard definition of data elements, their meanings, allowable values, and data dictionary contains definition of each primitive data elements and indicates how these elements combine into composite data elements. The primitive data elements are name, aliases, value meanings, and the description. Then composite elements are, it could be a sequence, the repetition, and optional elements. So where we said the primitive data elements, when where we said the concatenation of the primitive data elements comes under the composite elements. It could be like several times the repetition happens. It could be a kind of a sequence that we are maintaining for the primitive data elements that make it composite, and it could be optional element, this composite element, right? And then the pros and the cons. Uh, pros are like provides all stakeholders with a shared understanding of the format and the content of relevant information. A single repository of corporate metadata promotes the use of data throughout the organization in a consistent manner. And then the cons are requires regular maintenance, otherwise the metadata could become obsolete or incorrect. All maintenance is required to be completed in a consistent manner. Unless care is taken to consider the metadata required by multiple scenarios, it may have limited value across the enterprise. So that's it from today's session. We'll continue with the remaining of the techniques in upcoming sessions, and I hope you are liking my videos. Uh, Till then, take care and goodbye. We'll see you in the next session soon. Bye bye.